Okay, happy Monday. This is a video for the PMGAudio Apex. It's spelled APX. It's pronounced Apex. This is a $6,500 set before you depart. If you comment below this video and you are a subscriber to this channel, I have twice given away very expensive items and announced it just like this, that if I were to give it away, it would be in this comment section. And somebody in Indonesia is getting an MK3 right now, and somebody in America got a Loki. I think America, and then he tried to flip it on Headfi, which is totally fine. So, though it's unlikely, if it were to happen, this is the comment section. You'd have to be a subscriber. Go ahead and thumb up the video if you genuinely like it. Let's go ahead and talk about this set. I might go ahead and throw up a video of a slight scroll through the website. You're not familiar with this company. I wasn't either when I first heard of it. It turns out that they are actually an extension of Custom Art, which is a company you might be familiar with. I might put up a photograph of their website. They do a lot of custom in-ear monitors. They got some universals, including the 7U, 5A7U. They've also got a 5-driver one, I believe. And I really like the 7. So this is a new company, but it's an extension of an existing one. Let's get right to the point. Is this a set that is worth $6,000? I'll put it in this way. If you think that the Unique Melody Multiverse is worth its price, which I happen to think it is, then yes, because this is a set that reminds me a lot of that set. Of all the sets in my possession, this is the most similar set that I can think of, in that it has an incredible amount of detail. It gets back every little piece of the mix, and sometimes people say that when that's the case, poor recordings really step out as being poor recordings. That happens with the Multiverse, among other sets, and it also happens with this. Also, the tuning of this set, which we'll look at the graph here on the left, it's not really that similar, but graphs are another video that there's so much to talk about in a video about graphs. It's very much like the Multiverse Mentor in that it lacks a little bit of note weight. It seems to be intense in the top end, and it's got gobs and gobs of detail. They are very similar because they share the same best point, which is their detail and lots of intensity in the treble. Though the Multiverse doesn't quite show it in the graph, it's there. And a little bit of note weight. The Amber Pearl was very much like the Multiverse, but it had a little bit better note weight. And if you agree with the Amber Pearl versus the Multiverse, then you might agree with this. This is along that lines. Now, let's go ahead and talk about, before we get into music, the set itself. No, we're not going to listen to you. It has an interesting kind of, by the way, there's an unbox that if you go up to the top right and click that, you can see this, because it's a nice unbox. It's an expensive set. It's got amber in the caps, actual genuine amber. That's not a knock on the other set because it looked beautiful, but this actually has amber, which is quite cool and makes it there's no two that it will be identical. It's not possible really to do that. And that's cool itself when you're spending that much money. People like unique stuff. Of course you need high quality sound reproduction, but in addition to that, having something kind of unique is a nice appeal to it. The configuration of this set is quite interesting. Very interesting, in fact. It has a planar that looks like a balanced armature, that kind, that is in the sub bass. It stops at 80 hertz, so it's down there, and it also is coupled with a typical 10 millimeter dynamic driver. Not typical in its quality, but that's usually where the DD goes, down in the bass. Doing the sub bass essentially is a planar along with the DD, which is, I can pick it up actually, and I might talk about a track where it shows itself. On the other side, there is a planar at the top end, 10 kilohertz and beyond. So they bookended planars, and then in between it stuck 8 balanced armatures, and then another circular or round, more familiar type of planar that's been around the past 2-3 years, particularly in Chi-Fi. There's been a big boom with planars. So there's one kind of like that up in the top end, and then it's got the square one on the bottom, and then drivers in between. So it's a very, very kind of unique. Let's talk about music now. I think in the bass, this does good with my library, more towards, this is Alice in Chains, does stuff like that well. Big Boy, Kill Jill, let me see if I can get over to it. There's a triple drop right here, and I might show a spectrogram of it. before I knew that the BA was doing just a sub bass, I had already done my listening notes and wrote them down. And the triple drop is interesting because two of them sound good and match the graph, and then the lowest one sounds different from the other two. Sometimes with headphones, when I listen to Big Boy Kill Jill, I get the triple drop, and the lowest drop sounds like I can hear energy going to the driver, but not much more than that. That is what happens with this set. I'm not quite sure if that's related to the fact that there's a BA in the sub bass, because I imagine the DD is also taking care of that instead of just the BA. But it is a notable departure that the lowest note sounds very hard to catch relative to the other two, and that spectrogram should have just popped up for you. So that's interesting. But it overall does well. I'm actually listening right now to Menace to Society, as I usually do, just before I started this video, which is all the way down in the end, down here. And it does fine for that. It does the rumble and the droning, so I can't pin it down. I'd say around 60 hertz or around there. It sounds at times unique. And here's another example. Black Sabbath Sweet Leaf, which is a track that I listen to because it's very good at kind of sussing out masking, whether it's there or not, and how bad it actually is. And this is where planars, a lot of people think that planar timbre is unnatural, and I agree with that. But planars have a great ability to be pushed in the mid bass without giving you that clear mid frequency penalty where it just muddies everything up. Planars are great at doing that. So there's a planar level at doing this detail where I can hear the bassist and I can hear the drummer going at it, and I can completely hear each one without trying to focus. They're both clearly two different instruments. There are other examples, usually dynamic drivers, where it really is difficult to, without really focusing, to just listen to the bassist or just listen to the drummer, because they're right on top of each other on the frequency response graph and in time within the song in kind of semi-solos. It really, really brings out masking. This set, that there is no planar in that frequency because it's beyond 80 hertz where we get to the DD. However, it sounds very similar to a planar in its quality, one of the better sets, and that is another reason that I would suggest that Multiverse, another set with great amounts of detail and plenty of energy in the treble, but sometimes seeming to lack a little bit of note weight, is really kind of where this set keeps going in my mind. It's a lot like that set. It also is able to articulate this moment very, very well, much better than typical hybrids or dynamic driver bass sets. So it did that well. As we get into the mids and we listen to stuff like Chris Cornell, this girl doing a Blondie cover, I'll credit her in the credits, Charles Bradley, male and female vocals just come shining through here. The lack of note weight for some things might be a problem, but for male and female vocals, it doesn't seem to be. And vocals really, this would be a mid-centric set despite the extension and the elevation and the treble. I guess neutral and bright would be what I would call it, but yeah, it's a very vocal centric type set. It does that very well. At no moment did I feel like there was too much husk on male or female vocals. In the treble, where there should be a problem, there really is none. Vivaldi is fantastic. Jimi Hendrix, a lot of recordings are quite poor, but this would capture that, and also the energy with distortion pedals. It actually sounds good. I never got fatigued by this set. An easy way to, sometimes it takes years, or you're a genius in the hobby or something. It took me years to be able to hear somebody's impression and then be able to think, I think they're really looking at the graph more than listening to music. Can you understand what I'm saying? Sometimes graphs tell you stuff and sometimes they don't. That graph right there, let me go ahead and take out the multiverse. That would say that everything that's got all the harmonics should be up in my face. It's actually not the case. I didn't get fatigued by this set. However, on that line, because the note weight, or this is related, it could be that despite that being on my target, the elevated upper mids and treble and the harmonic overtones is making it seem like there's less note weight. Perception is reality, acoustic science. This could be my mind being drawn away, but fatigue is fatigue. And I never quite had I got to pull that out of my ear. Like the Gaia by Effect Audio and Elysian Acoustic. I got to pull that out of my ear. The Moondrop Planar, I have to pull that out of my graphs would show that, and I did that. This would imply that might be the case. In fact, it's not. It again sounds a lot like a multiverse. I think it's a good set. I think it plays back my library well. It's got one other thing I wanted to talk about with bass guitar, because we just talked about that in audiovisual. The bassist in Black Sabbath Sweetleaf sounded great, but there was the pulls and releases of the bassist sounded a little more prominent than the bass itself. Can you understand? When we separated and we looked at it on a spectrogram, when you cut off below the bass and go above, it sounds like somebody said dead string. Like you can hear the vibration, but it doesn't have a ringing sound to it. It's just sounds like a floppy string because we cut the bass out of it, so we're hearing the string. That part of the bass guitar sounds more prominent than the pulls and the releases. It should be the opposite, actually. The plucks and the pulls should sound a little bit more energetic than the overtones, which is mostly the string vibrating. So it's interesting set. So I'd recommend this set for people that like tunings like the multiverse. Lots of giving up a little bit of note weight, but getting it back in sheer res. And of course you could do something with all kinds of applications if you wanted to adjust the frequency response. I don't really touch on that in reviews because I review what I get, but that's a great portion of the hobby doesn't have a problem with going to one slider and boosting it up a little. I think if this were to be given a little more note weight in the mid bass, or if you were to pull down the upper mids treble, maybe that psychoacoustic illusion of lack of note weight might disappear. To my ears as it is, and my suggestion to PMGAudio, first of all, thank you very much for sending this to me. Because this does parts of my library very well, like rock and roll, but it doesn't quite get the rec for stuff like Bob Marley, and some prominent bass. Let me give you an example. I'm talking to the public, but I'm also talking to the company now, because feedback is for them, and then it gets to you. I would say that a part of my library that you might be familiar with in Poland, I would imagine anyway, would be Led Zeppelin. I don't know how the people at Craft Custom Art or PMG are. John Paul Jones on some tracks sounds a little bit lacking, or not the ideal that I would like to hear. It sounds slightly unnatural. It doesn't sound muted. It's not flat tuning, obviously, but it doesn't sound quite the way that I would want it. I would think that if you would listen to this library, you might kind of get what I'm saying. No Quarter, it would be a track that I think would step out, and then a lot of other tracks by Led Zeppelin. This set seemed to be not the one I would pick, and again, I wouldn't pick the multiverse either to go for this. I would go with the Amber Pearl. So in a future release to PMGAudio, something with a little bit more weight while maintaining the overall quality and whatever your mission statement is, that would attract a different group of people than are big fans of the multiverse. People that are more fans of the RN6, the Storm, the Fat Frequency, which is they're doing quite well in 2023, 2024, might be the good next step and a good counter to this. So you could maybe get your customers who purchase this and want something slightly different. Redundancy is a problem in this hobby. So of course you're not going to make another set like this. The next direction would be what? Well, what you didn't do, and that would be some meat on the bone, as they say. John Paul Jones, Led Zeppelin, pretty much the whole library. Sounds a little bit, could use a little bit more mid bass or a little less harmonics to kind of balance that out. And that would be my opinion. It is the PMG Audio APX called the Apex. It's $6,400. if you can afford things like the multiverse, I would say that this would be something that is quite similar to that. If you have something, if you wanted something like that, this would probably appeal to you. If you're more of a fan of like the RN6 by PMGAudio, this might seem a little thin to you. So there's definitely an audience for this, and there's another group that this isn't for, and that would be people that want more meat, which is literally right there, the Storm, the RN6, and the Grand Maestro. If that's your thing, and you're not interested in less note weight, less meat on the bone, this would probably be a set you'd move on from. And on the other side, if you really like the Mentor Multiverse, which I'm a fan of, like that type of tuning, despite what this graph says, in the mid bass, this would be a set that would be similar to that. So I'll go ahead and let you guys go. Don't forget to comment below this video. You got to be a subscriber. The chance is small, but I said it before with 2 other big boy videos, and people got them. One got it, and one should maybe have it today, like it was shipped a week ago. And to the other people that are waiting for stuff, thank you for your patience. Everybody gets their stuff. Life takes a little bit of time sometimes, so thank you for your patience. And thank you again to PMGAudio for the Apex. I appreciate it. And I'm out. I'll be putting this in future videos and comparisons, but this is its own video right here. And I'm out.